About 10 years ago, my son went missing. That morning is burned into my memory like it happened just yesterday. I woke up before my wife and immediately noticed something was off. The front door was open. A cold wave of panic rushed through me as I hurried to check Eric's room, but his bed was empty. My 5-year-old son was gone. The police searched for months. An Amber Alert was issued. We put up hundreds, maybe even thousands of missing person posters. Tips poured in, but none led anywhere. It felt impossible. How could someone just vanish without a trace? The world suddenly seemed both unbearably beautiful and unbearably cruel. My wife was shattered. She stopped eating, barely slept, and could hardly function. It reached a point where I wasn't sure if she would ever recover. I had to be strong for her. I was her rock. She knew I was hurting, but I couldn't afford to break down the way she did. One of us had to hold it together. "We will get through this," I kept telling her. "Do you think he's still out there?" I asked one night. She hesitated, then softly said, "I'm not really sure." I didn't know what was worse, the thought of Eric still being alive somewhere, suffering, or the possibility that he was gone forever. I avoided talking about it, shutting down any conversation that brought it up. We all grieve in different ways, I suppose, but in some strange way, our loss made us closer. Where tragedies like this often tear couples apart, it strengthened us. We held each other up when the weight of it all felt too heavy. She had been there for me, just as much as I had been for her. A few years later, she found out she was pregnant again. She was terrified, as if having another child meant betraying the one we lost. But I reassured her. "This time, things will be different," I said, as though I could guarantee it. When our second son was born, we named him Erickson, after his brother. As he grew, I couldn't shake the eerie similarities between them. Erickson didn't just look like Eric. He had the same birthmark, the same little quirks, the same taste in food and cartoons. When I pulled out some of Eric's old toys, Erickson seemed to recognize them instinctively. He even gave his brown teddy bear nearly the same name Eric had. It was unsettling, yet comforting, like we had been given a second chance. Erickson was much closer to my wife than he was to me. I didn't mind. It gave me more time to focus on work. If I'm honest, I think part of me avoided him because the similarities were too painful. Maybe that was selfish, but I couldn't help it. Sometimes it felt like I was seeing a ghost. Yesterday, something happened that shook me to my core. I took Erickson to the park, the same one I used to take Eric to. He played happily, climbing the play structure just as his brother once had. For a moment, I let my attention slip, just a quick glance at my phone to answer a text from my wife about dinner. But when I looked up again, Erickson was gone. My heart stopped. "Not again," I whispered, panic setting in. I ran frantically through the park, calling his name. My mind raced with worst-case scenarios. Then, after what felt like an eternity, I found him. He was beneath a tree, digging. "Erickson!" I shouted, rushing over. He turned to me, his hands covered in dirt, his face filled with something I couldn't quite place. Worry. Guilt. "What are you doing out here?" I grabbed his shoulders, my voice harsher than I intended. "Do you have any idea how scared I was? You can't just run off like that." I'm sorry, Daddy," he mumbled, looking down. Relieved, I pulled him into a tight hug. "What were you digging for?" I asked. He pointed to the small hole he had started. "Daddy, you have to keep digging," he said quietly. "You have to see for yourself." Something about the way he said it made my skin crawl. I didn't know why, but I felt compelled to listen. We went home to grab a shovel. I asked if he wanted to stay with his mother, but he refused. "No, Daddy, I have to be there too." So we returned to the park. He stood close as I dug, watching in silence. The deeper I went, the more I felt an unshakable sense of dread. Then, after what must have been hours, my shovel hit something. At first, it looked like fabric, dirty, faded blue. I brushed more dirt away, my hands trembling. Then I saw it. A small skull. Beside it, something caught the light. I reached down and pulled out a silver pendant, one from a set I had bought for Eric just days before he disappeared. My breath caught in my throat. "What the hell?" I whispered, my voice barely there. Erickson, still chewing on the snacks I had packed him, looked at me with those eerily familiar eyes. "It's me, Daddy," he said simply. That's where mommy left me after she put me to sleep.